for a Monday morning, Monday afternoon, actually. That's high noon. That's kind of the line of demarcation I think that we put there. Hi, Byron. My name is Pugs Moran, and I do this every Monday. It's going to drive me nuts. My kid. Oh, my God, you guys. Had my kid this weekend. Ugh. Let me tell you, I don't know if you know this. Not sure if this has ever been said before about a 14-year-old boy, so let me be the first. When you allow a 14-year-old boy to use something that isn't his, he's not going to take care of it. And that's why over these weekends, we're always a couple of minutes late on Mondays because I have to disassemble the studio, basically, because he's not allowed to let his little 14-year-old grubby paws touch anything. So I have to disassemble the studio because he sits in the studio area. It's also like the TV area and all that. It converts very nicely into a lounge area. And he uses this here table. See this bouncy table? See how shaky it is? Now he uses this here table. And he uses the chair that I sit in, which is an incredible chair. It's just such a great chair. So anyway, and he puts his feet up on the table and he's completely destroyed the desk. The desk is literally not connected or bolted anymore. It is leaning. This whole side of the desk is being propped up by what I'm telling you is there are things going on outside of the stream that I'm going to be distracted by the entire show. One of which is the desk going to collapse? Okay. What do we do here on this show? Well, we get together every Monday through Friday at about noon o'clock, and we talk about all the things that are happening in the world. If it's a headline, if it's a hot topic, a current event, a trend, whatever it is that people are buzzing about, I try and give it to you here. Every day for 2 hours. Today's going to be a little bit shorter. Today's going to be about an hour and a half. I'm sorry. It's just got to be. It's just the way it is right now. So let's get started. We give you all the day's news, all the day's headlines, but that's not all. We also give you a firm 30,000-foot view of what today is. We take a look at things that have happened on this day in history. Certainly not everything that's happened on this day in history. Why? That would be crazy. And that would be a long show. No, I select a couple of things. Why? Because we're looking for rhythms. We're looking for patterns. We're looking for things that might help us predict what we might expect on this edition of this particular day. After we do we call that erstwhile on this day. After we do erstwhile on this day, then we move into birthdays. We talk about people who were born on this day. We celebrate them or we crap on them, whatever. You know, it's fluid. Then we talk about people who have died on this day. And we sit in judgment. This is my fun part. This was for a long time. This was just, hey, here's people who died. But then, I was like, there's got to be some common thread that all these people have in common. And I thought, yeah, they're all dead. And what happens when you die? Well, people wonder where you went. So that's what we do. We sit in judgment of people who have died on this day and decide, are they in heaven or are they in hell? So without further ado, let's get started. But I will remind you, as is always the case, this show runs on your contributions. If you feel so inclined to support this style of talk radio, non-divisive, non-political, just current events driven, if you feel so moved, drop a little something in the Venmo or the Cash App. Each show is produced by somebody who tipped during the previous show. Today's show produced by Mom. That's right. That's right. My mom. She tipped last week. So help out the show if you can. Also, you'll see scrolling at the bottom of the page, James Parker and I, we do a second stream every night at 9 o'clock. Not every night. I know I say it. It just sounds easier that way. We do a stream at 9 o'clock. Recently, it has been on. We haven't been doing Monday shows, but this is the last Monday show that we're going to miss of Radio Misfits because the comedy workshop that we've been taking on Monday nights. That's right. We've been taking James and I, my co-host for the Radio Misfits stream, which airs at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time most days, but Friday. So typically it's going to be a Monday through Thursday show. And it has been for 2 years, typically. Like it's something we're just kind of launching now. No, but we haven't been doing Mondays because James signed me up for something I would have never signed up for, which is Dean Lewis. Great local. You son of a bee! You got to get out of here. This is not the day for you to be running around this desk. Go lay down now. That's the dog. Did she cause a stir the other day? Let me tell you. Go lay down, baby. Come on, sweetie. No, this tone does not mean come to me. No, it doesn't. It means go lay down. So anyway, we're going to be back doing Monday Radio Misfit shows, which on some level is probably good. So here's what the dog did. Dog got the police called on us, didn't she? Yeah, she got the police called. She got the Highland Park. For those of you who don't know the background, I am squatting in a neighborhood where the combined I don't know, wealth of the block that I'm on is probably larger than most countries. Most civilized countries. We're not talking about third world countries. I live in a very wealthy 1%er neighborhood, and I live on what we like to call the 1%er compound, which is a main house and then a back house, a guest house, a Cato Kalin quarters, if you will, which is where I run this studio. I do the studio from here. I live here. The house is for sale. So the house is empty. However, the owner of the house has a dog, CeeLo, who I have sort of become the big brother of. I've been taking care of CeeLo because CeeLo likes to stay here while the house is for sale because it's a kick-ass yard and all that stuff. So basically, here's the thing. CeeLo lives here back here in the house with me, but she gets roam of everything. She gets to roam the house. And we like that she's on the property because she's incredibly vicious and this house looks empty, even though it's not, even though I live in the back. But the house looks empty from the street. So she likes to sit in these big windows. I call it the dog aquarium. There is this fully enclosed glass room at the front of the house. And it's empty. And it's just hardwood floors and glass. And the dog likes, as a matter of fact, you go to the Google search, you go to Google Maps and you click on the house. The dog is in the window. You see the dog sitting in her little glass window. So that's what she loves. That's her joy. And last Friday, I don't go anywhere. I do all of my work out of here. I run to the store, right? So then sometimes when I have my son, like I did this last weekend, I'll be gone an hour to go pick up my son. So when I'm gone, the dog usually sits in her little glass room in the front. Well, here's another thing that she does because she's a jerk. She barks at everybody. So anybody walking down this absolutely beautiful street is going to get met when they cross the front of this house by like this vicious looking dog in this window. And I understand it's a bad look, but some people don't know how to behave, do we? She doesn't know how to behave. So apparently some pearl-clutching, wealthy old lady was walking down the street while I was going to pick up my son on Friday. And she saw this dog barking in this window, and she just had to call police because there was a for sale sign, and it didn't look like there was any furniture. And she just assumed someone had abandoned this dog. We were gone an hour. We were gone an hour. What? My car is in the driveway, like... always. Okay, let's just say always. I don't know, just these people in this neighborhood. So I'm driving back with my son. We're going to get some dinner. And I get a call from Ian, and he was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know when you get home, if there's like a note on the door or something, the Highland Park Police Department called me. And I'm like, why? It's like somebody called and said that there was an abandoned rabid dog in a home that's for sale. Like, abandoned rabid dog? I was gone an hour. This damn dog has you know what this dog had for dinner last night? Half a Little Caesars pizza. Yeah, because my son made the mistake of giving the dog a piece of the pretzel crust. And then when we walked out of the room, the dog jumped up on the counter and ate the rest of the pizza. This dog has the life. Don't even start with me. Police getting involved. And they didn't do anything. The cops were like, yeah, I'm sorry. We get a lot of these calls from these old biddies in this neighborhood who just, you know, their husbands are retired senators and now they're looking for a cause. That was my weekend. How was your weekend? Let's see. Who do we got in the chat room? Let's see. Let me say hi to all of our people before we get into the rundown here. We got, hold on. Let's see here. Let me say hi to everybody. We got Byron here. He was first in. Congratulations to him. Taronda's always on deck there. We got Barney, we got Jeff, we got Adam, Leslie, April. April says the show is 7:30. I believe doors open at 7 and the show is at 7:30, or maybe the doors open at 7:30. I'm not sure. Hey, have a drink, sit down. It's a nice club. It's a nice relaxing atmosphere. I'm sorry. I will find out. I will know for sure tonight. I should know. I think it's 7. Like, I'm almost positive it's 7:30. I just don't know why I'm questioning it. You know why I'm questioning it? Because I think James said, wait, is it 7:30? And then I was like, oh, I don't know. Now I'm confused. Sorry, April. Jen is here. Jen Hernandez. Oh, that's not how I know. I know her by a different name, and it's very confusing. Chat. Oh, there we go. Boom. Sorry, folks. There you go. Now the chat should be up and working. See, that's why I've got to get in the habit of going into the chat room, because then I can see. Make sure this is working. Oh, apparently it is working. Okay, very good. Hold on. Let me get a drink. Scrolling down there at the bottom, we're still going to let you guys, if you're listeners of this show or whatever, you got to let me know if you're coming so you can drop me a note. at any of the things listed on the scroll there. The show is tomorrow at 7:30. It's going to be me and James Parker doing stand-up comedians. Can't even say the word. It ain't gonna be good. Like, don't like expect, like, I'm not good. Like, here's what's so great about taking Dean Lewis's class, because Dean Lewis is such an incredible comedy writer. He really is. He's really good. I mean, I don't know if people know this, but his job on Jagger all those years, when it was, the Jagger morning show with Dean Lewis, Dean's job was to just sit there and listen to what everybody else was saying and write funny things. I mean, he's just a great joke writer. He's just a great, and so what he does is he has this class at the Improv where people, mostly young people, not in my case, but mostly young people, if they want to start doing stand-up comedy. Dean Lewis, first of all, is a really good person to know in Dallas if you're young and trying to get into stand-up comedy. So having Dean Lewis in your network is pretty good. And as I've learned, there is like this group, there are a lot of stand-up comics in Dallas. A lot of people want to do stand-up comedy. And why not? It seems so easy, right? It's not. I mean, I can't do it. I have too much respect for it. I can do this. I can extemporaneously speak for 2 hours, but don't expect a joke every 7 seconds, right? I can't do that. So anyway, we're going to do it tomorrow. We're going to get up on stage. We're going to do it. And Dean Lewis is going to be performing as well. Dean is great. Oh, the Dean's List. I love that. I'm going to be a member of the Dean's List officially. The Dean's List is a group, a gaggle of stand-up comedians who have taken Dean Lewis's class. I mean, and it's everybody. It is everybody that is a name in Dallas comedy. I mean, from Justin Foster to Paul Varghese to Dean Lewis. Now, I mean, all of them, like all the. There's a moth in here. Sorry, distracted. So that's cool. And I don't know what that's supposed to, because I'm probably not going to do stand-up comedy, but come on out and you can watch us. We're going to have fun. It's going to be, at the very least, it seems like a nice reason or excuse for all of us to get together after a couple of years. So the scroll is going to be left on down there. Drop me a note if you want to be added to the list. We can still get you in. All right, let's get started. Let's do today's show. What do you say? That's enough dilly-dallying. It's 16 minutes after the hour. I mean, come on. News has broken. Probably. I don't know. Welcome to the High Noon Report. I'm Pugs Moran. It is the 18th day of September, year of our Lord, 2023. September 18th is the 261st day of the year. There's 104 of these remaining until the end of the year. So as we say around here, get those New Year's Eve plans started. On this day in 1851, erstwhile on this day is the segment that we do here. It's called Erstwhile on this day, or you might be more comfortable with previously on. Erstwhile, on this day in 1851, the very first publication of the New York Daily Times, which would later be renamed the New York Times, the Gray Lady, first debuted on this day in 1851. On this day in 1919, Fritz Pollard, his name was Fritz. I dare say, Fritz Pollard. All right, here's it. Fritz Pollard, he's the first African-American to play professional football here in America for a major team. And by major team, it's 19. We're talking 1919. So the Akron Pros of the old AAFL, which was, they changed their name in a year. A year, the AAFL changed their name to the NFL. So Fritz Pollard was the first black guy to play essentially in the NFL. Two observations. One, I dare say there has not been another black guy named Fritz since Fritz Pollard. Fritz is not a name that that's not a name. I've never heard of a cornerback out of LSU named Fritz Jackson. Fritz is not a name that sustained the times as far as African Americans. The other thing is Fritz Pollard is a fascinating story. Learn a little bit about Fritz Pollard, because the NFL, they allowed black people in the league in 1919. That's right, 1919, the first black man to play in the NFL. That's because the NFL was trying to get whatever ticket dollar they could get. They were nothing. They allowed black people because they wanted black people to come, because black people bought tickets too, and they had sections and all that kind of stuff. It was a mess, but still, it was just about the money. It wasn't about, oh man, I created equal and we should be able to run with the pigskin on equal footing on a field of play that determines the great champions of our era. It wasn't that. It was, how nobody's come to see football. Black people might. That's what it was. That was the reason that Fritz Pollard was allowed to play football. And as soon as the NFL started to turn a profit, guess what they did? They immediately banned black people from playing in the NFL for like 15 years. It was like a 15-year, and it was the dude in Washington, the Washington Redskins guy. He was like, I don't like them black people on my team. And so for 15 years, black people were not, they literally went back. They like regressed. They were, so Fritz Pollard on this day, first black guy to play in the NFL, his career was cut short when they said, you can't play here anymore. On this day in 1927, the Columbia Broadcasting System goes on the air for the very first time. That is CBS. CBS signs on for the first time on this day in 1927. On this day in 2001, the first mailing of anthrax letters from Trenton, New Jersey in the 2001 anthrax attacks. Remember these? Oh, my God. Oh. So we were at Live 105.3 when the anthrax attacks first began. We had just gotten there. And before anything could come into the building, like we just got off a plane from Chicago. We were getting a tour of the station. We were going to check into our hotel next. Everything had to be searched. Like what? You just hired us to do middays. You're searching our bags? Anyway, protocols were radically different after the anthrax thing. The radio station had to rent. And I understand that all media entities, public media entities did this. The radio station had to rent a trailer, like a single wide. They had to rent a trailer, and it sat in the back of the parking lot. And the trailer is where someone had to don a hazmat suit just to do the mail sorting. That's right. For the entire radio station, there was, and it was like an intern. It was like they put like the lowest paid person at the station in the hazmat suit and marched them across the park every single day. This went on for months because one wackadoo sent an anthrax letter. I mean, this is how we overreact. And it was this is very serious. We've got to do this. No mail. You can't bring anything inside. It all has to clear and be searched for. And this went on for months and months. First anthrax attacks on this day in 2001. How about some birthdays? Buonam, buonam, buonam. They claim it's their birthday. Buonam, buonam, buonam. This news source backs that up. I don't know. We don't have they say it's their birthdays. I can't play music, so here we go. Born on this day in 1933. He says it's his birthday. Robert Blake. Oh, what a complicated man. Old Mickey from the R Gang. Old Tony Beretta from 70s TV. Oh, what a complicated figure he cuts, huh? Wait, no, he didn't cut anybody. That was OJ. He was sort of like the Kirkwood OJ. If you're unfamiliar, Robert Blake killed his wife. He was a big TV star. He played Beretta in the 1970s. If you're Gen X, you know. If you don't, who cares? Killed his wife. Bonnie Lee Bakley was her name. Bonnie Lee Blakely. Bonnie Lee Blakely. Wait, was it Bonnie Lee Blake? Wait, what's her name? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Well, it does to her family. But so Tony Beretta, and that's what we're going to call him because that's how I know Robert Blake. So Tony Beretta didn't really do anything for like 30 years, but he still had Beretta money and he was still kind of famous. So he didn't have to work. You know, he lived in like a mediocre house. He didn't have a big Hollywood house or anything like that, but he had money. You know what I mean? He's like, he knew here's the deal. I always say this. Robert Blake knew what his bag was. He knew what his bag was. And, you know, when the money dried up in the 1990s or 80s or whenever, he had his bag, he had his house paid for, cars, you know, he health insurance, all that. So he got it. So whatever, he didn't live ostentatiously. However, he did get old and he started to need a little help. So Tony Beretta, aka Robert Blake, he ended up hooking up with a fan, like a crazy fan. And this is the Bonnie Lee Bay. And he married her because she just moved in and did everything. And he was an old man. You know, you can kind of understand. He's an old man. He's like, you mean I could get like some much younger girl who's going to come over here? She's going to have sex with me. But then also she's going to clean and she's going to like want to be my, that's fine. I'm Tony. And that's what he did. So he married someone he wasn't really in love with. And she was crazy. And he ended up killing her because he's a murderer, because he's crazy too. And that's the story of Robert Blake, born on this day in 1933. Born on this day also in 1933, we call these umbilical cousins. Ooh, this is a fun pregnancy. Fred Willard, the great Fred Willard, dead on this day in 2020. By the way, Robert Blake died on this day. No, he didn't die on this day, but he did die in 2023. Robert Blake was born on this day, 90 years old. Robert Blake made it too. Fred Willard, 1933, born on this day, same as Robert Blake. He died in 2020. Fred Willard's so funny. Oh my God! What? Just an absolute fabrication of pure joy. That's what that guy was. He's just always happy. He's the perfect gleeful idiot. That's who Fred Willard perfected in his comedy persona. Over 40 years of just being the gleeful idiot You know, Michael Scott from The Office was also a gleeful idiot, just if you need to know like the type, the character type. Anyway, he was so funny. Fred Willard, born on this day in 1933. Born on this day in 1944, John McAfee. He's crazy. Every computer, you know, all the computers, McAfee systems, well, that's him. He started that. He built that, and then he got his bag of money, and he did a whole bunch of things wrong. And then the government was like, "You're a criminal," and he's like, I'm not. I'm gonna live on an island that I bought in the middle of the ocean that oceanographers don't even know about. And he went and lived on this island somewhere. I don't know. And then he started taking like child brides. And then so like every island that he lived on. Anyway, there was a movie called Gringo, It's a documentary. It needs to be made into a feature film, and it will. And I can see Leonardo DiCaprio playing him. But Gringo, if you've ever seen the documentary Gringo, it's the story of John McAfee's life on the run. He was crazy. He was crazy. But he was crazy, and he had a big bag of money. And when you're crazy with a big bag of money, woo, you can do some things. He did some fun things. And he just ran around the world and did some illegal things. Let's not kid ourselves. Fun for him. When I'm saying he did some fun things, I mean fun for him because he was crazy. John McAfee, born on this day in 1945. Born on this day in 1961. Oh, God. You can't celebrate his birthday without mourning his loss, his premature loss, a loss that, I know I took me by surprise. Born on this day, 1961. The great Gandolfini. That's right, James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano. There was so much more from that guy to come. He was such a great actor. And no, he wasn't about to get Gilligan because he had been making a whole bunch of movies after The Sopranos. And here's the thing about what James Gandolfini was doing. He wasn't taking big box office roles because he was offered them. He was offered every action film or whatever. You know, he was offered, you play the general or whatever. No, man, he was doing small acting films that were really showing what an amazingly talented actor James Gandolfini was. James Gandolfini, born on this day in 1961. Of course, he died prematurely 10 years ago, 2013. Born on this day in 1964, Holly Robinson Peete, American actress. She was in 21 Jump Street. She married Rodney Peete, quarterback for the Detroit Lions. He ended up being a bust, but when she married him, he was quite a name coming out of USC as the quarterback and a first-round pick. And he was going to be and he wasn't. And she kept the name. She became famous. I don't know if they're still together. I don't know. Rodney Peete and Holly Robinson Peete. I hope they are. That would be nice. Anyway, remember the name Holly Robinson Peete because we're going to circle back to her in a couple. Born on this day in 1964. Holly Robinson Peete. Born on this day in 1968, Tony Kukoc, the Croatian assassin. Tony Kukoc, NBA basketball player, Chicago Bulls. Nobody remembers him except we Bull fans. Actually, other people might remember him, but he tends to get lost in the crowd of the Jordans and the Pippins and the Rodman. You know what I mean? He gets lost in that. Tony Kukoc was an amazing. He was like the first, maybe not the first, one of the earlies. Let's call him one of the earlies, like white guy, Eastern European 3-point sharpshooters who just. Because, Jordan and Pippen, they had that whole thing covered. People were concerned with them. But then they could kick it out to Kukoc for 3, and he'd drain them all. Thump, thump, thump. And now we live in an era of the NBA where everybody drains everything. They weren't draining all threes back in 1997, okay? They just weren't. Tony Kukoc was. Incredible. Happy birthday, Tony Kukoc. Born on this day in 1968. Born on this day in By the way, man, Jordan and Pippen were so mean to Kukoc because Kukoc was the prize pick of Jerry Krause, the general manager. And Jordan and Pippen, and they had to wait a couple of years to get him because he was, I don't know, he's in Europe. He had a contract or whatever with some European team, some Croatian team, whatever. I don't know. But they kept holding him over Pippen's head. Not so much Jordan, but Pippen's head. Tony Kukoc is coming. Tony Kukoc is coming. Of course, they wouldn't say that to Jordan. But Jordan was very upset about the way, and it was one of the things that drew Jordan and Pippen together. Jordan and Pippen did not have the close relationship that I think people want to pretend they had. They didn't. Jordan was a very solitary guy. He did his thing and he demanded excellence from everybody. Scottie Pippen was just the beneficiary of playing alongside a great talent like Jordan. That's not to say that Pippen didn't have talent, but he played at Central Arkansas. I'm wondering if Scottie Pippen had been drafted by the New Jersey Nets and, lined up alongside Boog Thompson, he would have had the same career. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, they weren't close. There was some resentment between Pippen towards Jordan. and Jordan tended to take Pippen for granted. But when Tony Kukoc came into the equation, when Tony Kukoc started to be dangled by general manager Jerry Krause as being the great savior of the team that's coming from Europe, in the way that was held and thrown in Scottie Pippen's face, Jordan actually defended Pippen on that and became sort of anti-Tony Kukoc, which was awful for Tony Kukoc. Tony Kukoc's first year with the Bulls, man, he was picked on. They were mean to him. And then it all worked out because that's what teammates do. They eventually came to embrace and love Tony Kukoc. Famously, during the Dream Team games of 92, Jordan and Pippen made it their priority to humiliate Tony Kukoc when the Dream Team played Croatia. Lance Armstrong was born on this day in 1971. We talk about fall from graces. He sometimes gets lost in the mess. But man, what a fall from grace that was, huh? And we always go O.J., Cosby, whomever. I mean, with me too, there's a million of them. But O.J. and Cosby. But we tend to forget about Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong was, man, he was like, everybody loved him. Oh, he's he's all-American. He's a Texan. You know, it went Plano East High School my kid's going to be going to. And then it's like cheater, scumbag. Like, he was a cancer warrior. Remember, everybody had the live straw. Everybody had a yellow arm bracelet. Man, he was everything good. And then suddenly everything bad. Why? Because his ego wouldn't allow him to admit he cheated, and we all saw it. We all saw a severely flawed and complicated man. That doesn't negate all of the good that he did. See, this is the absolutism that I reject of today's society. Lance Armstrong did a lot of really great things. He made Americans feel really good. Now, it turns out he cheated, so let's table that. However, the stuff that he did with cancer awareness and the money that he raised and how he got, I mean, look, everybody's been touched by cancer, but he certainly did make it something that was front and center for a lot of years. And there's a lot of good that came out of that. And then he did steroids and cheated and lied about it. And so suddenly he's evil. I don't know. People are complicated. I wouldn't say that he's evil. I don't know. People are complicated. Born on this day in 1971, the big fall from grace that he is, Lance Armstrong. Born on this day in 1971, Jada Pinkett Smith. Now, here's why I said Holly Robinson Peete. Remember that name? Because I have a theory that Hollywood has people in reserve. And I really do think that they had a Holly Robinson Peete because of 21 Jump Street, and she was starting to get famous. And they looked around and they said, we need another one of these. So they went and got Jada Pinkett. I think Jada Pinkett is in the same class of actress that if you were casting a film and needed a certain type, you would have a Holly Robinson Peete. And if she wasn't available, someone might go, I've got a little younger one. Her name is Jada Pinkett. Jada Pinkett Smith, born on this day in 1971. Don't say anything about her haircut. Don't. Born on this day in 1975, one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites. I love this guy. This guy is just such joy. He's got that Bill Murray energy where he steps up, like for me anyway. Peter Sellers had it too, where Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen has it. I'm trying to think of other people that have this energy. It's where you just walk into a room and let's just how we know them on television. You come into a scene and without saying a damn thing, I will already start to chuckle in anticipation of what's coming out of your mouth. That's what Jason Sudeikis has. Jason Sudeikis has that. He can just stand there and do nothing. Bill Murray has that. Bill Murray can stand there and I can just project what I imagine he's thinking and it will be funny and it will make me laugh. I love Jason Sudeikis. I mean, there is not a role. I mean, Jason Sudeikis has done so. Now he's big because of Ted Lasso, right? He's always Ted Lasso. Now he's big. But for the past 15 years, he has been doing one-off standout comedy roles that have just been so great. Everything he's in is he's so funny. He's just funny. I love him so much, Jason Sudeikis. James, my partner in the Radio Misfits show, James is rewatching Eastbound and Down, which is the Danny McBride HBO series. And Jason Sudeikis was in that for an entire season. Just a one-off character. He played his catcher in minor league baseball, who was really funny because Jason Sudeikis is really funny. All right, speaking of really funny, the last one we're going to do here, born on this day, 1978, Billy Eichner. Billy Eichner. He's the dude that runs around on the streets screaming in people's faces. And then the reaction of someone being shocked that some stranger is screaming in their face is what makes the humor. I don't get Billy Eichner. I think he's funny. I think he's a little much. And now he's becoming more of an actor, and that's good. Let him go be an actor. He's doing a lot of the Ryan Murphy stuff. But Billy Eichner, did he start with the Tonight Show? I don't know. It was funny, like, hey, blah, 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 and he runs down the street and yells at people. But, that's taken straight from what I used to do, right? That's radio. Every morning show in America in the 1990s had a guy that would run down the street yelling at people because the reaction was funny. So I don't know. I'm Billy. I don't know. What's my take on Billy Eichner? A little much. He's a little much. Tone it down, Billy. Don't come at me with that energy. That's a little bit much. All right, let's do some deaths. These are the people who've died in this day. We're going to talk about them. We're going to decide whether they're in heaven or hell. That's right. We get to sit in judgment. First, dead on this day in 1970. Here's a big one. Jimi Hendrix, American singer, songwriter, guitarist, and producer. Jimi Hendrix, the question before us, almighty chat room. Jimi Hendrix, is he in heaven or is he in hell? So here's what I know about Jimi Hendrix. I've seen enough interviews with him, and then I've seen enough stuff about him, and just, by osmosis, living in the area that I did, I've come to know some things about him. He's a dude. He wasn't all that together as far as, he probably couldn't handle a bank account because he liked to get high a lot, and all he wanted to do was play guitar. But he was never described as being cruel, arrogant, mean. He was always described as just this amazingly, lovingly sweet guy who was often described as innocent. Like he did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And that almost never made him sideways with people. He was just sort of like a leaf in the wind, just blowing through life, just kind of trying to be cool and chill and he's in heaven, right? I mean, the music alone that he brought so much. You can't be someone like Jimi Hendrix, who has brought that many people peace or grace or whatever it is that they were seeking in the moment of listening to music and how music transforms us. You can't put a guy like that in hell. Jimi Hendrix, he goes to heaven. There you go. Dead on this day in 2002. Here's someone we're putting in heaven. Bullet Bob Hayes. That's right, American sprinter, professional football player. You get some old heads, they'll tell you about Bullet Bob Hayes here, Dallas Cowboy Ring of Honor. He was one of the fastest men in the NFL when he came in. He was a sprinter, played a bunch of years. Of course, we here in Dallas have no complaints. He's going to heaven, Bullet Bob Hayes. Dead on this day in 2004, controversial and wildly provocative filmmaker Russ Meyer. Russ Meyer died. He was a director. He was a producer. Here's the deal with Russ Meyer. Russ Meyer became famous in the 1950s and 60s because he knew exactly where the line of obscenity was, and he went right up to it. Russ Meyer films were famous for having women with giant boobs. All the women in Russ Meyer films had giant boobs, and they were sexploitation films. Russ Meyer created the sexploitation genre. And I got to be honest with you. I know a little bit about Russ Meyer, and I also know a little bit about what people are saying happens in Hollywood. And I can only imagine what kind of stuff Russ Meyer was getting. And Russ Meyer is, long story short, he's going to hell. Russ Meyer probably belongs in hell. I'm just saying. Dead on this day in 2004, American director and producer and the founder of NFL Films. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Sabol. What do we do with Steve Sabol? I don't know anything about Steve Sabol. I know I love NFL Films. I know when I was a kid, man, if there was an NFL, when ESPN became a thing and they started running ESPN film archive tape like on a schedule, oh, that was so great. 4:30 NFL Films, they're doing running backs today. I mean, that would now YouTube. Here's what I thought. Does NFL Films, are they still relevant in the age of you? And yes, they are. Yes, they are. Because my son, who's 14 years old, who is an insane football meathead and an insane YouTube meathead, he watches old NFL film clips on YouTube constantly. So this is a whole new generation. So guess what, Steve Sabol? I'm putting you in heaven. There you go, Steve Sabol. You're going to heaven. All right, this next one, dead on this day in 2020, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, United States Supreme Court Justice. From time to time, we feel we have to do this. We're going to do it with RBG. She is going to purgatory. That's right. Purgatory. That's the sound effect for purgatory. Why? Because I'm not getting into this kind of stuff. There are people who are like, she's not only in heaven, she's an angel. And then there are people like, she's a devil demon bitch, or whatever. So she's going to purgatory. All right, there you go. That ends it. Those are our heaven and hells, our birthdays, and our erstwhile on this day. All three segments that we do to start out the show. Okay, so now we get into the part of the show where we'd like to tell you about all the things that are happening. This is the rundown. This is what we call, I don't know, what do we call this? We don't even call this anything. We've been doing this now 3 years every day, and we still don't know what we call this. Man, Man, I'm getting hot in here. How hot is it outside? We haven't been doing weather updates. Remember when we were doing weather updates where we'd look and I'd be like, oh, it's 110. How awesome. Current temperature here in the 1%er compound of Highland Park, Texas, 91 degrees. That's why it's hot. Okay, because I don't have the air conditioning on in both rooms and it's in the 90s. All right, let's get into all the things that are trending today. By the way, I would also draw your attention to the fact that this show is all about your tips. So if you want to help out the show, boom, there you go. I'm going to leave that up. That's the line. Drop a little something if you appreciate this kind of talk radio, which is non-political, non-divisive, just me for 2 hours, no breaks, no nothing, just streaming the news. Let's get started. Today, the top story, the big story. If you've crossed the television set today, you've probably seen this. Let's see. 5 Americans have been freed by Iran. They have arrived in Doha. Don't know where Doha is. I think it's one of the friendly countries over there. There's like a handful of countries over there that are okay. I think Doha is one of them. All right. So these 5, it was 6. Hold on. Come on. Give me the story. Why won't you give me the story? There we go. Give you, So we let go some Iranian spy. So we had these 5 dudes. They were over there. They're American citizens. They were taken hostage, and they've been there for, one dude was there for 8 years, right? Nobody did nothing for him. So he's been in an Iranian prison for 8 years, 5 of them. We arrested some dude here. Iran wanted him. That dude's name was Simak Namzi. Okay. He's in a prison here in the United States. No, wait. Is that the guy that Nibs at U.S. prisoner? No, I'm sorry. Simak Namazi. He's the guy we got. See, they all have Iranian names, so it's a little confusing to me. Okay, so the dude we got back. The dude that was there 8 years is Simak Namazi, U.S. prisoner released by Iran. Says he is dying to buy a new iPhone. Ha! What an attitude out of that guy, huh? That's the American spirit. So here's what we did. We gave them, we didn't give them. We didn't give them anything. Okay. Because of U.S. sanctions, there is money frozen in international banks around the world, $6 billion worth of money that Tehran was using, in their world investments and all of that. And then all of a sudden sanctions happened. So that money got frozen. So all that's happening here is we are dropping the sanctions and unfreezing that money. And they now have their $6 billion. We didn't write a check of $6 billion taxpayer dollars to Iran. No matter who tells you that, they're fucking lying to you, man. That's not what it is. This was their money. It was their money. We froze it because we can do that shit. We'd be like, yeah, fuck you. Your debit card doesn't work anymore. We turned it off. Iran, sorry. And we did that. And so it's just so we got our people back after 8 years. That's good. And we gave them one of their guy. It says here, U.S. agrees to release $6 billion in frozen Iranian money as part of the deal. The Iranians released in exchange for the Americans include, here's the dude's name, Madrad Ansari, who was convicted of supplying Iran with materials to be used in missiles. The Americans landed in Doha today to be put on another flight to Washington. They thanked Biden for putting the lives of Americans above politics. 8 years, man. Yeah, I would wait to start talking shit until I'm standing on the runway of an American airport. That's, I ain't gonna. But if they left me there for 8 years, I'd be like, so why now? Because it was suddenly advantageous to you. It's an election year. You thought this would be a good look. Why did I spend 8 years in prison in Iran and nobody gave a shit because there was no benefit to them getting me out? Okay, I understand how it all works. That's the big story today. So we got a bunch of Iranian prisoners back. Yay, good for them. The other big story is concerning a guy. Okay, here we go. Complicated. My feelings towards a lot of people are complicated because people are complicated. People are not just one thing or another. They are a whole bunch of things. No. All right. I do a stream of consciousness here where I just say whatever pops into my head. Something just popped into my head that I did not say. So look, there is some control here. Russell Brand is trending. Russell Brand, the comedian. It's very funny. I find him very funny. Russell Brand, Get Him to the Greek, which is one of my go-to movies. Like if there is like nothing, if I'm just like, all right, I need something to fall asleep to, Get Him to the Greek. And I know it doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement, but I've seen it like 15 times. And it just, I don't know, it just makes me feel good. I love that movie. Get Him to the Greek is in the universe of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I don't know if you've ever seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That's also an awesome film. Forgetting Sarah Marshall is so good. And then Get Him to the Greek is sort of like a spinoff, or not necessarily a sequel, unless you saw Russell Brand's character in Forgetting Sarah Marshall as the star. Then if you saw it that way, then yes, Get Him to the Greek is a direct sequel to Forgetting Sarah Marshall. All right. So Russell Brand apparently raped a bunch of people. And that's what he's being accused of. Russell Brand is being accused. Russell Brand, the comedian, the actor, Russell Brand, who has become what he self-describes as a non-mainstream influencer, where he is propping himself up in this. I tell you the truth and watch my streams and all that. And he's an incredibly smart man. He is very smart. He's genius. The way his brain works and the way everything fires off is genius. Is one way to describe it. Another way to describe it is crazy. He's a crazy person. He's a crazy person. Now, we're entertained by him, but if you've always just kind of overlooked the fact that Russell Brand is and always has been a crazy person, then you're just not, you're not a great evaluator of talent, as they say in the scouting world. He's batshit. He's always been batshit. That's why his brain works that way. Have you ever talked to a crazy person? Have you ever had any kind of conversation with somebody who's in the midst of a manic episode? That's Russell Brand all the time. He is always mad. That's why his brain works so fast. And it does. It works faster than yours. Don't get into an argument. Don't get into a debate with Russell Brand. He will crush you because his brain works faster than yours. Why? Because he's crazy. Okay, so that's the trade-off. So he's crazy. He's always been crazy. He's a junkie. He lived on the streets. He's got a whole crazy background story. He talks about his depression. He talks about bipolarism, all of that kind of stuff. And now, because he's an incredibly difficult personality to work within the system, he has risen up in this era of we don't need the system and anybody can do anything. And I think that is just great, says the guy who does this for 3 hours a day. So I support Russell Brand, and I support what Russell Brand is trying to do within the media world. However, I do push back a little bit on his claims that he is this dangerous, outspoken individual who the man is now trying to silence, because that's what he's saying. So a whole bunch of newspapers, some investigative stuff has been ongoing now for a couple of months. And on Friday night, Russell Brand made a video on his YouTube channel or whatever it is. I don't know. He made a video where he talked about how, he has been saying some very dangerous things, and he knew this day would come, and that the powers that be have amassed around him. He gave that. That's basically what he's saying. He's being accused of, I'm being accused of some absolutely heinous things, and he denied them all. And he basically then started really drilling down to the crazy core of the people that want to believe all of the craziest aspects of what these new non-tethered media personalities do. He's not, I don't mean to say Russell Brand isn't Alex Jones. He's not overly political. He's anthropological, really. I mean, he talks about the human condition. Yeah, that's really what he talks about humans and how, and I find that stuff fascinating. However, some of his takes are a little bit weird, and that's because, as we said a couple minutes ago, he's crazy. He's crazy. And you have to be able to go, oh, this is fun. He's on a roll now. Is he going to stumble at all, or is he just going to be this eloquent and freeform with this rant? And he never stumbles because he's crazy, because his brain works in that way. So a bunch of women have basically come forward. Scotland Yard is now doing an investigation. It is the top story all over England. I mean, this is like, so let me give you the story as it's being reported, okay? Oh, and by the way, here's the other thing about Russell Brand. He has professionally played a character throughout the course of his career, his public life. He has professionally played a character that supports these allegations. If you look at the character, and this is what he can say, well, I portray a character. That's not really me. But the character that he has portrayed has always been a bit of a lech, always been a bit of a flirt, always been a little bit handsy. He's a big, handsome, funny man who probably gets a lot of girls. And I imagine that as his star rose, it became easier and easier for him to get girls. And they almost never said no. And when they did say no, they didn't mean it. Because nobody says no. I'm Russell Brand. I'm handsome. I'm young. I'm funny. I'm famous. Of course you're going home with me. Come on. So apparently he engaged in that kind of a lifestyle. Katy Perry, he's married to Katy Perry for like, I don't know, a year or something like that. And apparently she has said in the past that he has some demons in that way. So I don't know. Anyway, I push back on the whole, they're only bringing these charges because I'm such a dangerous speaker. You're not a dangerous speaker, actually. You're not. You're actually an interesting speaker. Here's what it says. Self-confessed sex addict Russell Brand has dated some of the world's most glamorous women, even married a pop star, Katy Perry. We know about that. God, Katy Perry is so cute. Good Lord. Let's see. The California Girls singer, Katy Perry, has since opened up about their split, saying she was effed and she, quote, felt a lot of responsibility. Speaking to Vogue in 2013, Katy Perry said the initial romantic whirlwind had been magical, adding, he was so funny. But she said Brand didn't visit her on tour at the time, adding, at first, when I met him, he wanted an equal. And I think a lot of times strong men do want an equal. But then they get that equal and they're like, I can't handle the equalness. Well, first of all, let's be honest. Katy Perry and Russell Brand were never equals. Are you insane? Katy Perry is a megastar. Russell Brand is a comic from England that some people know, but most people you have to go, the guy that was in that thing, let's stop with the equals here. Let's see here. He didn't like the atmosphere of seeing me be the boss on tour. Okay, that's troubling. Katy Perry says that he didn't like her being a boss. So that was really hurtful to me. And it was very controlling, which was also very upsetting. I felt a lot of responsibility for the way it ended, Katy Perry said. She then added, isn't that like what they say? Like, okay, she's like, it was very controlling. He didn't like me having any power whatsoever. And then it ended and I feel very responsible for it. Well, that's exactly how, they say victims do, right? They blame themselves. No. Sounds like maybe he was a dick. Maybe he was a dick and he was like, I don't like my woman talking to people like, or whatever. It's unclear what truth what she says. She then added, I felt a lot of responsibility for it ending. Katy Perry then added, but then I found out the real truth about him, which I can't necessarily disclose because I keep it locked in my safe for a rainy day. I let go and I was like, this isn't because of me. This is beyond me. This is his problem. So I have moved on from that. It's unclear what truth Katy Perry was talking about. This comes after a bombshell report by the Times of London revealing by the way, that's the other thing. Times of London did this story, not the Globe with, bare-breasted women. The real newspaper is doing this, which, adds a little bit of seriousness to it, which is why members of parliament are now talking about it. It comes after a bombshell report by the Times that revealed 5 women have alleged that Brand has sexually assaulted them while at the height of his fame. Channel 4, which is a big channel there, not BBC, or is BBC Channel 4? I don't know. Dispatches a Channel 4 Dispatches documentary. That's a series. It's like in England. It's like a Dateline special. It's like the 2020 special. So Dispatches is what the show in England is called. And a Channel 4 Dispatches documentary, which aired last night, Sunday night, revealed that Brand allegedly attacked the victims between 2006 and 2013. The comedian has denied all allegations. The first woman claims that the comedian raped her up against a wall at his home in Los Angeles. According to the woman, Brand apologized to her when she texted him to say, when a girl says no, Russell, it means no. After she had been treated at a rape crisis center, saying he sent her a text saying, I'm very, very sorry, and, quote, would make it up to her with love and kindness. So that's pretty bad. So this woman was treated at a rape center, and then she's got a text that corresponds to her at the rape center saying to Russell Brand, you shouldn't have done that. When a girl says no, she means no. And then he responded saying, I'm very sorry, copying to whatever she was suggesting, and that he would make it up to her with love and kindness, which again suggests that he's a handsome, charming, funny man. And he thinks that that's the way you can get out of everything, because ultimately all these women want to sleep with me because I'm a handsome, charming, funny man who, is also now a celebrity. According to the woman, Brand apologized to her when she texted him to say, when a girl says no, it means no. This after she was treated at a rape crisis center. Brand responded saying that he was very sorry and would make it up to her with love and kindness. Now, you can't just say this. Like the Channel 4 and the Times of London had to have seen these texts. These texts have to be confirmed for them to just say this. A second victim alleged that Brand forced her to perform oral sex until she choked while she was just 16 years old, and that she had to punch him in the stomach to make him stop. Okay, so 16 he was in his 30s, she's a 16-year-old. What else do we have here? The 16-year-old girl, given the pseudonym of Alice, also claimed that Brand referred to her during the time of their relationship as the child. I can see him condescendingly. The child demands more food. The third alleged victim, who said that she worked with Brand, claimed he sexually assaulted her before threatening legal action if she spoke out. Fourth woman accused him of sexually assaulting her as well as being both emotionally and physically abusive. A fifth, Jordan Martin, previously wrote a book about her alleged abuse that she endured at the hands of Brand in February of 2007. So she wrote a book. It's been out there on bookshelves. Nobody did anything. She claims that he subjected her to emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and made her brush her teeth so hard her gums bled. Okay. He seems like a real dick. I've been a fan of Russell Brand for a lot of years. I enjoy him. I enjoy him from a distance. Again, I always say this. Could you ride in the backseat of a car with him to Florida? Just get in the car and ride to Florida. Do you think you could ride in the backseat the whole trip with Russell Brand to Florida without wanting to kill him? I don't think I could, but I enjoy him on TV and I enjoy him, as a crazy person who's fairly entertaining. But if you're in a relationship with somebody and they're demanding that you brush your teeth to the point where your gums bleed, why are you brushing your teeth? Okay, so a whole bunch of choices you made led up to you deciding to brush your teeth when he tells you. And I'm just saying, please, just because he's handsome and charming and funny doesn't mean he gets to tell you when you can brush your teeth. That's all I'm saying. He made me brush my teeth until they were bleeding. What do you mean he made you brush your teeth until they were? But what do you mean? Like, did he strap you into a chair and did he have some machine that was? He didn't make you brush your teeth. You did that willingly. Okay. Let's see here. The women do not know one another and felt compelled to speak due to Brand's rise as an online influencer. Brand has denied all the allegations against him, slamming them as aggressive attacks. The actor posted a video to YouTube in which he said he absolutely refutes the claims and that his previous relationships were always consensual. All right, so that's the Russell Brand story. Here's what I think about the Russell Brand story. I think he absolutely did all of these things because I've known people who had, mid-level celebrity, and I know like the way they've just dragged girls out of bars, and I've heard the stories about, yeah, man, I totally did, or she wasn't into it, but and then, it just happens. That's how these people have been allowed to behave. Where pro athletes, guys in successful local bands, DJs, doesn't matter. Anybody who has any sort of oomph or self-belief in the oomph factor is going to have that confidence. And they're going to drag it. And if they happen to be a broken sexual freak like Russell Brand or a lot of other people, I am not. I might be a broken sexual freak, but in a different way where it's like, yeah, I'm not really into sex. I'm really. So I never had that problem, but I've witnessed it. I've seen it. So, God, so I totally believe that Russell Brand behaved in this way with all of these women. And I also totally believe that in the era that he was doing it, it was just something, but guess what? Things change, man. Bad behavior. The chickens are coming home to roost, as they say. Because now we're looking back at all these bad behaviors from the 2000s, and these people's careers are being ruined. And you know why? Because young people are in charge now. And young people say that this is not how it's going to happen anymore. And that's fine with me. That's fine with me as long as we say from this point forward, this retroactive going back and like dragging people through, not Russell Brand. This is not an example. I'm not drawing a correlation to Russell Brand. I'm stream of consciousness talking. The reason this Russell Brand thing is different because these are a lot of women. And again, it was his character. I totally find this believable. In the case of Russell Brand, did he rape these women or did he not rape? Because rape, I think a lot of people go, he was hiding behind a dumpster. And when she was walking to her car, he jumped out and right. That's like worst case scenario. That's all rape is bad, but that's like, the real scary kind. Knife at the throat. This is date rape stuff. This is, and I'm not Adam Reyna, Leslie, whatever. I am not excusing date rape. I'm simply saying it's not the same as holding a knife to a stranger's throat in an alley, forcing her to have sex. There was some level of comfort and lack of fear on the part of the victim here at some point during this. Now, when he turned into a monster, all those chips were off the table. He's not a rapist. It's not like Jack the Ripper. He is a sexual assaulter. Is there a different name for it? Sexual assault? Can we call it something different other than rape? Because honestly, rape, I think guy with a knife. Hey, I think he ought to go down if these things are true. And if you're asking me, I am telling you, I think they're true. I believe them. So there you have it. That's Russell Brand. Disney World is trending today. You know why Disney World is trending? Because it's closed. Yeah, huge swath of Disney World down there in Florida is closed. Do you know why? Because the Disney people showed up for work today and there was a bear roaming free. And that's crazy because you would think they've got all kinds of animatronic bears and stuff like that. And if I was someone at Disney and I was walking into Disney and I was, walking through the parking lot and I get my employee pass and boop, I scan through the gate and I go through and I head for the employee entrance and I see a bear like off in the distance. I go, cool new toy we got here at Disney. I wouldn't exactly think it's a real bear, but it was. It's a real bear. There is a real bear. It is on the loose inside Disney. And did you know this? There's bears all over Florida. I don't think I knew. I thought maybe some bears somewhere, but I don't think bears all over Florida. There's bears all over Florida. All right, Disney World. Don't know if it's open yet, but it was closed earlier today because there's a bear. A bear. Would you go up to a bear? If you saw a bear, if you were at Disney and you saw a bear walking down the little, hometown square area or whatever, I might go up and talk to that bear because I'm at Disney and bad things don't happen at Disney. Moran Morris is trending. I don't know who she is, but apparently she's a country singer and people like her. And Moran Morris is trending because she's leaving country music. You know why she's leaving country music? She doesn't like that. I don't know. She thinks it's too Trumpy. Anyway, here's the deal. She ain't leaving country music because she thinks it's too Trumpy. She's leaving country music because she's more of a pop star anyway, and she's cute and attractive, and she's looking at Taylor Swift, and she's going, I want some of that. Taylor Swift used to be a country. This isn't about, but she's making a political stance to get a little bit of headlines so that, it's like, oh, this is her new pop album because isn't she pop anyway? I don't know. Moving on. I don't know enough about her. You guys, there's a missing F-35. Maybe it's been found. I don't know. Did you guys hear about this story? The missing F-35? This is, when they create all of these super advanced technological weapons of war, do they game plan for every scenario? Because a scenario occurred yesterday and the United States Air Force does not seem to have any answer for it. Now, wait a second. Has this been updated? Let me see if this story's updated. No. Okay. 346. That's real. 346. Okay. So this has not been up. Maybe they found it today. But anyway, here's the story. No, it's been updated. Here it is. So an F-35 fighter jet, which is the latest and the hottest and the coolest, and it's got stealth technology and it's absolutely untrackable. You don't know where it is. Yeah. Oh man, no one's ever going to see this fighter jet coming. It's so badass. Okay. So that's what this is. So they're up there doing a training mission in this F-35. The pilot experiences some kind of problem in it. There's a problem in this plane. So he ejects. The pilot ejects out of the F-35. Here's the problem. The pilot was on autopilot. The plane was on autopilot and he ejected. And now they can't find it. The Air Force can't find this plane that's up there flying around because it's got all this stealth technology. See what I mean? They didn't game plan for this. They did not think when they were creating this plane and they went, what are all the things that can happen with this plane? Nobody went, what if it's on autopilot and the pilot ejects? Nobody thought of that because now they're asking the public. The United States military is asking for help finding a missing F-35 fighter jet after the pilot ejects during a mishap. The jet was left in autopilot over South Carolina, but officials said Monday that they're certain it's not flying any longer. That's the new one. That's the update. They're certain it's not flying any longer. As of last night, they were like, we think it might still be flying. We think there's a really good chance, and we can't find it because it's in stealth mode. So it's just up there. A U.S. fighter jet's stealth abilities appear to be working far too well, with authorities forced to ask the public for help finding an F-35 that went missing somewhere over South Carolina when the pilot ejected. Joint Base Charleston, an Air Force base in North Charleston, said it was working with Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort to locate an F-35 that was involved in a mishap Sunday afternoon. The pilot was able to safely eject from the aircraft, an F-35B Lightning II jet, and was taken to a local medical center in stable condition. The 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing, the jet belongs to, one of the unit's training squadrons, confirmed Sunday's mishap in that the pilot had safely ejected from the aircraft. The search and recovery effort for the aircraft are ongoing, and we are thankful to the agency's anyway. I don't know if they found it or not. But how crazy is that? There's like a ghost plane up there just flying around. Okay. All right, the pilot's out. Where'd the plane go? I have no clue. It's stealth. It's in stealth mode. So you don't see the plane anywhere? Nope. What direction is it flying in? I don't know. I have no idea. All right. Jan Wenner. Jan Wenner is trending. Jan Wenner. Jan Wenner of Rolling Stone magazine, one of the cultural icons of America's past 50 years, for sure. Jan Wenner. Jan Wenner, the editor and publisher and basically the head of Rolling Stone all of these years, certainly made an impact on American culture, popular culture, even news culture. I mean, Rolling Stone is a news magazine. People don't understand that. They've got like 5 Pulitzer Prizes, dude. I mean, it's not freaking Cream, right? Or Tiger Beat. I remember a couple of years ago, actually it's more than a couple of years ago. This is how old I get. Rolling Stone did the story where they put Dzhokhar Tsarnaev on the cover. And I remember like a bunch of idiots were like, well, Rolling Stone, why don't they stick to metal? Like they had no clue what Rolling Stone was. Like they just thought Rolling Stone was like a metal music magazine or something like that. No, it's a culture magazine that leans heavily on music as the driving force of American culture, but it's also about politics. It's also about investigative stories. Hunter Thompson, for crying out loud, wrote for Rolling Stone. Everybody did. PJ O'Rourke. Everybody wrote for Rolling Stone. They got Pulitzers up the wazoo. Anyway, Jan Wenner built that magazine, and it was a very important part of American culture, and it shaped the identity and worldview of a lot of people, my generation included. Rolling Stone was instrumental, and I believe the way Gen X sees the world, and that was because of Jan Wenner. However, Jan Wenner is in trouble now. He's been kicked off the board at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, where he was a board member. He was one of the top guys in charge of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's been kicked off the board. Why? Because he gave an interview to the New York Times. New York Times sat down and talked to him about a new book that he's got out called Geniuses or something. I don't know if you even need to promote the book. It's a stupid Jan Wenner book. It's a book that focuses on 7 people that Jan Wenner believe have moved American culture forward in the lifespan of Rolling Stone magazine. So it's Jan Wenner, one-on-one sit-downs and deep dive interviews with these people, these 7 people. Now he's being criticized for the book because all 7 are old white men. All 7 are, it's like Jerry Garcia, Bob Dylan, Paul McCartney, and it's people like that. Okay. Which is, that's Rolling Stone. That's what Rolling Stone was. That's what Jan Wenner was. So Jan Wenner was asked about this in the New York Times interview. He was asked, how come it's all white dudes? Like there's a lot where you don't have, first of all, you don't have one woman, let alone a black woman, but you couldn't make a case for Aretha Franklin. You couldn't make a case for Jimi Hendrix. You couldn't make it. So anyway, that's the criticism. It's his response that has gotten him in trouble. Jan Wenner, you got to know about Jan Wenner. Jan Wenner is like an 80-year-old super powerful, he's a part of David Geffen's gay mafia. If you know about David, if you ever heard the stories about David Geffen's gay mafia, it's all of these gay, super powerful dudes in the entertainment business. Elton John is a member of the David Geffen game, but Jan Wenner is as well. Jan Wenner is just, he's a man of his time. He grew up in the 1950s and 1960s, and he sees the world in a certain way. And the Rolling Stones sort of ideology and worldview that he put out there is a very dated one to me. I push back on the Jan Wenner type influence, especially if you want to talk about politically in my generation. There were these gross, I derisively call them Sorkin liberals. I hate Sorkin. I'm a moderate who leans left. Certainly socially, I lean left. But I call them Sorkin liberals because they were super important in allowing people of my generation to just ingest whatever they were saying and turn off their mind and just go with that. That's my worldview now, what I heard. And Aaron Sorkin was a television writer. He created The West Wing. So all of that, I love The West Wing. It's one of my favorite shows. But all of that ideology is so pie in the sky. It is so not real. And there's an entire generation of people who are influenced by that kind of thinking. Jan Wenner represents that. Jan Wenner represents I'm very liberal, but I don't want black people moving next door. But me, you people should totally have black people. It's that these are people who in the 80s rose. Clintons were a big part of it, like Clinton liberals, like these wealthy white people who come from every advantage, who are still not taking up for the collective middle class, but are simply pointing out that the people among us in our country who are being marginalized, and it's somebody else's fault. Again, this was a worldview of wealthy limousine liberals that took over Hollywood, embodied by the likes of Rolling Stone's worldview, Aaron Sorkin's television writing, the entire Clinton, Stephanopoulos, D.D. Myers, young people getting involved in politics nonsense. So many of my generation just saw that and went, they're cool because they've got Nirvana playing at their concert. So I'm just going to believe everything that they believe. That's what we did. And Jan Wenner, again, I call bullshit on this whole movement from the 80s and the 90s of these Hollywood limousine liberals, the Jan Wenner types. I call bullshit because they still don't want their daughter dating a black guy. That's who these people are. They still don't want you moving in next to them. But they will tell you, see, they live in mansions, but they will tell you in your neighborhoods how you need to do your schools and how you need to. And it's just total bullshit because they're simply preaching from Mount High. Because pay attention to it. This is how everyone should live. And it's always somebody else's fault. Now, the right says that they engaged in, racial baiting. And I think they did. I think that absolute group of liberals that took over the Democratic Party in the 1980s and 90s, I think that they exhaustively imbibed in the art form now of race baiting. Now, everybody does it now. Now racial differences can be used for any political agenda. You can make it malleable. Well, no, the people who did it first, look, MSNBC put Al Sharpton on the air, and he's still on the air, and we all act like he's a reasonable person. He's not. Anybody who knows about the Tawana Brawley situation knows that Al Sharpton should never be given a platform. But it's the Sorkin liberals and the people of that movement who saw a guy like Al Sharpton and said, you know what? Let's throw our arms around him. Anyway. This is the pushback that the Democratic Party is feeling right now. It's because of people like it. There's a pushback of a new generation of modern liberal-minded individual who pushes back against all of the nonsense of the Jan Wenners and the Clintons and the Aaron Sorkins and all of that pie-in-the-sky bullshit that was never actually anything that could tether itself to the real world. It was all just nonsense, a fictional. The Democrats of the Aaron Sorkin, Jan Wenner worldview are the people who pretend like they live in a world that they want to be. They want the world. I exist in an idealized world because I have the money to be above the fray. I believe the world should be this way, and this is how I live. But normal people can't live that way. Normal people have to live in the real world where it's like, you know what? That guy's an asshole and I hate him as a neighbor. And it's not because he's black. It's because he's an asshole or whatever it is. It was this absolutism. And they just all seemed like they had crazy money and that they were So Jan Wenner's response to the question of why is your new book about geniuses? Why does it only have white guys? So his response to that question is what got him drummed out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and is now persona non grata. Okay. Now remember, I don't like Jan Wenner to begin with because he represents this entire political worldview that is just as stupid to me as the MAGA worldview. Jan Wenner, who co-founded Rolling Stone magazine and also was a co-founder of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, has been removed from the Hall's board of directors. He's been removed from the board of directors of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Wenner created a firestorm doing publicity for his new book, The Masters, which features interviews with musicians Bob Dylan, Jerry Garcia, Mick Jagger, John Lennon, Bruce Springsteen, Pete Townsend, and U2's Bono. All white males. Asked why he didn't interview women or black musicians, Wenner responded, "It's not that they're inarticulate." This is what he said. Okay. This is Mr. Jan Wenner, Mr. Liberal, Mr. 1995. Let's get the Clintons elected because we need to help the poor people. This bullshit. Okay, so this was his answer. This was his answer to why is it all white guys? Well, it's not that non-white guys are inarticulate. That's how he answered. It's all right. I'm going to put it in context. I'll give you the whole thing. I just think that's a funny way to start. Asked why he didn't interview women or black musicians, Wenner responded, "It's not that they're inarticulate, although go have a deep conversation with Grace Slick or Janis Joplin. Please be my guest. You know, Joni Mitchell was not a philosopher of rock and roll. She didn't, in my mind, meet that test," he told the Times. Of black artists, he said, "You know, Stevie Wonder, genius, right? I suppose when you use a word as broad as masters, the fault is using that word. Maybe Marvin Gaye or Curtis Mayfield. I mean, they just didn't articulate at the same level of the piece of people I chose for this book," Wenner said. Okay, it's not as articulate. We're back to the articulate thing. He didn't write about because he wrote about he wrote this book about these people that he was interested in because at his age he doesn't want to labor, he doesn't want to have to do a chapter on somebody that he's not really all about. So these are the people that he's all about, and he's being questioned. Why can't he just say, well, these are my favorites and these are the ones that I was the most enthused about writing about? Because writing is easy when it's fun. And so Jimi Hendrix would have been fun. I don't like black people. That's what he would have been forced to say. I never have. As a gay man in New York City, I was afraid of black people for years. Late Saturday, Wenner apologized through his publisher, Little Brown and Company, saying, "In my interview with the New York Times, I made comments that diminished the contributions, genius, and impact of black and women artists, and I apologize wholeheartedly for those remarks." That's the other thing about the Sorkin, Rolling Stone worldview liberals. They're always willing to apologize. They're always willing to apologize, and they're always willing to fall on their sword as long as there's like an escape hatch with some money on the back end for you. That's what they're willing to do. They're always willing to go, "Oh, I will die on my sword because someone has to. And now look at me as the moral superior to all of you." That's what they do. They fall on their friggin' sword. Just ask Al Franken, that moron. He fell on his sword. Ugh. "I'm sorry I said I didn't like black people" out loud. That's basically his apology. Yenner added, "I totally understand the inflammatory nature and badly chosen words, and I deeply apologize and accept the consequences." Oh, what's that, Yenner? Are you saying you weren't as articulate as you could have been? He's a D-bag. He's always been a D-bag, and this is a chance for me to dance on his little D-bag grave a little bit. He is a D-bag. Jan Wenner. Ugh. So I remember in the 90s, he started walking around like Pat Riley. Like he slicked his hair back and suddenly he was always like a counterculture hippie guy. But then in the Gordon Gekko 80s, all of a sudden Jan Wenner is like, oh, he's always rubbed me the wrong way. Drew Barrymore is another person that's always rubbed me the wrong way. Drew Barrymore is now apologizing. She said, so you remember Drew Barrymore? Drew Barrymore last week, she announced that even though I am in total, like she like when the writer's strike started, she was supposed to host the MTV Awards, and it was the first week of the writer's strike, and everybody was going, yes, support the writers against the man, and she was caught up in that because she's Drew Barrymore, and she's like basically got the integrity of a plastic bag blowing through a Kroger parking lot. And she was like, I will not host the awards, you guys. I'm not going to go against the writers. And she did that. And then the writer's strike went on for like a bunch of moments. And then she came back and she's like, I'm going to bring my show back because I'm bored. Summer's over. I'm bored. I want to go back to work. So, and then people were like, but wait, you took this big stand about not doing the MTV Awards because you were in solidarity with the writers. And now just a couple months later, when it's now suddenly inconvenient for you, you're like going to throw the writers under the bus. And so she brought her show back, or was attempting to bring her show back. Not anymore, because the whole world, by the way, I described her as the pioneer. In the analogy of the pioneers get the arrows, settlers get the land, because after Drew Barrymore announced that she was bringing her show back, a whole bunch of people followed suit. The settlers came after the pioneer, right? The Indians are all shooting at the settlers or at the pioneers, and the settlers are busy planting corn or whatever. So a whole bunch of other shows after her were like, yeah, we're doing it too now, but yell at Drew because it was her idea. Like, that's the whole thing. Well, Drew Barrymore has changed her mind. They have come after Drew. And I don't look, there are a lot of people who I think might be, strong, can take it. They're tough. It's like, come on, bring it. Schwarzenegger, come after Schwarzenegger. He can take it. He ain't thin-skinned. Drew Barrymore, I don't think she's very good at being yelled at or being, I don't like you, Drew Barrymore. Like, that's how you kill Drew Barrymore. You kill Drew Barrymore by looking her in the eyes and going, I don't feel any love or passion from you at all, Drew Barrymore. I don't like you, Drew Barrymore. That's because, she's all about puppies and love and so that's how you kill her. Well, people were mean to her, and now she's not bringing her show back. Drew Barrymore halts talk show return after backlash. She says that she will resume her show when the strike ends. Drew Barrymore isn't bringing back her daytime talk show, The Drew Barrymore Show, until the strike ends, after all. The decision comes a week after the actor was criticized for saying The Drew Barrymore Show would premiere on September the 18th in compliance with WGA guidelines and without writers. She says, I have listened to everyone and I am making the decision to pause the show's premiere until the strike is over. Barrymore wrote on Instagram, I have no words to express my deepest apologies to anyone I have hurt. And of course, to our incredible team who works on this show. And she's afraid they're going to spit in her coffee. That's what it is. She's afraid that the next time she goes, I need a coffee, it'll come with some spit in it. So now she's like, okay, we ain't doing it. So there you have it. All right, Drew Barrymore started this whole thing, and she doesn't have the guts. She doesn't have the guts to go through with it. She just thought the whole world was going to love her because she's Drew Barrymore, and she can do whatever she wants. Oh, God. She drives me nuts. I hate that vibe she's got. I mean, I think it's a good vibe. It's just, again, like Billy Eichner. It's too much. It's too much. Drew Barrymore way over the top. All right, so Drew Barrymore is not bringing her show back. Here's another piece of breaking news. So Bill Maher came in the door behind Drew Barrymore. Bill Maher, that brave soul that he is, he let Drew Barrymore take all the axes and the arrows. And then he announced, he's like, I'm bringing my show back. We talked about it, right? Bill Maher bringing his show back. Bill Maher, I'm bringing my show back. Well, guess what? No, he's not. Because just like Drew Barrymore, they got to Bill Maher too. And now Bill Maher has announced just about an hour or so ago on Twitter that he will not. Oh, and here's what he's saying, because Bill Maher is such a disingenuous piece of crap. Here's what happened. Bill Maher wanted to do his show because just like Drew Barrymore, he was bored. And he decided, well, I did it during COVID with nobody. I could do it again. So he was going to do that again. For his own narcissism, because as I said, Bill Maher needs his show to be on Friday nights in the fall, because that's when he does. He tours every weekend. At the end of every show, Bill Maher goes, join me in Tulsa tonight or tomorrow night. Like, hey, I got to get out of here. There's going to be no after show, because there's usually like an after show thing sometimes. But when there's not, he'll go, I got to get out of here because I got to jump on a jet because I'm playing Seattle tonight at or wherever it is. You know what I mean? So that's what he relies on. As I said, the article that I had read that I cited last week, he makes $1.5 million a year from HBO to do real time. He makes over $20 million a year on his shows, his live theater shows 40 weeks out of the year. I don't know how it works out. But anyway, he makes far more money doing his live touring act, his casinos. He plays nothing but casinos where they give him like $100,000 just to walk in. I mean, that's crazy casino money. And so he uses the HBO show for that. So he didn't want to come back for any, reason of people need me. People need my entertainment. No, he was coming back because he sees these dates that he's not promoting on HBO. And he sees ticket sales going flat. So he needs to get on the air and he needs to start promoting these damn shows. It's been a summer of flat ticket sales for him. Well, they got to him and they said, Bill, fuck you, you're a dick. And Bill has now said, yeah, you know what? Now that I understand that there seems to be some movement between both parties, I'm not going to bring my show back. Here's the exact tweet that Bill Maher put out today at 11 a.m. He says, my decision to return to work was made when it seemed nothing was happening. And there was no end in sight to this strike. Now that both sides have agreed to go back to the negotiation table, I'm going to delay the return of real time for now and hope they can finally get this done. He is such a... Okay. You a lot of people who throw parties that you like to attend said some stuff about you. And now Bill Maher's like, oh, no. Oh, no, I can't. Because Bill Maher's like one of these Hollywood moths, right? He's sort of like D-list famous. He's not famous. He's not A-list. He's not, again, do we need to, like, A-list is Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts, right? Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro. Okay, that's A-list. People are always like, Bill Maher's A-list. You moron. In what world is Bill Maher A-list? Bill Maher is D-list. He's a touring comic of 50 years who's got a show on HBO. Okay? That's famous? Yes, he's famous. But he's not. Maybe he's C-list. Maybe because he's been doing it for so long, he's C-list. Who's D-list? Oh, or who's B-list? So we've established the A-list. So the B-list are people like Jennifer Aniston, who's like super big, right? Like super big. Jessica Chastain, who's like an, super big time actress. Who else is B-list? Who's an actor that's like B-list? Paul Rudd. Yeah. Oh, you're like, Paul Rudd is A-list. Not yet. Not as long as De Niro. And no, we've got to have some separation, okay? Chris Hemsworth is B-list. He's A-list. No, he's not. He is not. We've got to keep the A-list in rarefied air. Then when you got C-list, this is what happens. I'm looking at the show and I'm going, I'm trying to try and stream of consciousness, just my random thoughts for about 2 hours. And now I get into a long stand. Look, we've been debating the A-list and the B-list and the C-list for a long time. We don't need to get into it. Moving on. Anyway, Bill Maher bringing his show back now because people yelled at him and he probably got turned away from a party. Hey, man, how about this one? Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Renner was at a party last night. They was walking a red. Actually, I don't know if he's walking a red carpet. It says he's walking a red carpet, but the pictures they took of him, he was sitting down. Jeremy Renner looks great. Jeremy Renner, it was like a movie premiere, and then he was at a party, and he was with a hot chick, and he looked great. Jeremy Renner was cut in half, like on January 1st of this year. He was run over. He was like a tube of toothpaste. Run over in the middle by a snowplow. And now he looks great. Jeremy Renner. Good for him. Is he walking? I mean, I bet he was, man, that's what sucks about that kind of injury. Because, it's like, well, he looks good. Like, can he stand and can he still make money for acting? Like, can he do that, right? But what's it like when he poops? Like, you look fine, Jeremy. Yeah, well, pooping is like being stabbed in the butt with a knife. Whatever. Like, what are the residual everyday effects that he deals with from being run over? I mean, he should be so lucky if he can poop. Wouldn't that be a thing? He's probably got a bag. Oh my God, Jeremy Renner. Good to see you out. Kill me though. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. 35 bones. Broke 35 bones. Damaged a whole bunch of organs. Of course, because, again, tube of toothpaste and a snowplow rolling over it. Here's a fun story. This is trending. So, what the hell, man? Come on. What the hell? So you know the dude that Lorena Bobert was like, beating off, and he was touching her boobs, and she was vaping and yelling at pregnant ladies. You know that dude that she was with? Her boyfriend, Lauren Bobert. She's been dating this guy for, they're saying, over 3 months now. They're actually kind of serious. Do you know what her boyfriend does? Her boyfriend owns gay bars that do drag shows. That dude owns a gay bar in Austin that does big drag shows. Lauren Bobert. That's who she's dating. That's who, man, these people are just ginning you. She's a big, dumb, she has been, I can't even start. How crazy is that? What's his name? I'll give you his name. He's being outed now. Bobert's new man owns gay-friendly bars which host drag shows. What? How great is that? She has to break up with him. And then we get to follow her around, because she ain't really going to break up with him, because you think Lauren Bobert has control over her wants and needs. She doesn't have any control. Man groped by Lauren Bobert during frisky Beetlejuice date owns gay-friendly bars that host drag shows. And he's a rich guy because he owns a gay-friendly bar in Aspen, Colorado. Put all of those individual pieces together. Let's start with Aspen, Colorado. Super rich people, super rich people, owns a bar in Aspen, Colorado. Have you any idea what the rent for a bar in Aspen, Colorado is? So we're talking big money, okay? And it's a gay bar in Aspen, Colorado. Rich gay dudes. Why? Those are the most richest of all the rich people. They tell me, because they don't have kids. So rich, he owns, this is who Lauren Bobert is dating. A rich dude who owns gay bars. Well, two of them, actually. Well, these ones are in Austin. What was she doing in a gay bar where she met? Anyway, a bar owned by Rep. Lauren Bobert's new boyfriend has staged at least one drag show recently, according to a review of social media posts. The Hooch Craft Cocktail Bar in Aspen, Colorado, which is owned by Quinn Gallagher. His name is Quinn Gallagher. Oh, man, I love Quinn Gallagher. First of all, cool name, Quinn Gallagher. Irish guy, obviously. Quinn Gallagher is a cool name. However, Quinn Gallagher is handsome. He owns bars. He owns a gay bar, which makes him cool. Like, he's a cool guy in Austin. He's, that's the dude that owns the gay bar. Hey, so he's got a little swag in the street. So he's got that. And then he's like, it's got to be a goof, right? Like, if he's a dude who runs gay bars, it's this whole thing of being attracted to Lauren. It's got to be because, one, she's physically hot. She's a hot chick. So he's got that. But also, it's got to be a goof, kind of, right? Because there's no way. Well, yeah, there is. He might hate gays. She might really hate gays. He might hate gays. He might just, know that they spend a lot of money in Aspen, and that was a severely underserved demographic in the Aspen bar scene. I don't know what it is, but I do think that's funny. It is funny that turns out to be. Why do I keep saying Austin? It's Aspen, Tom. Tom's like, is it Austin or Aspen? It's Aspen. It is Aspen. Jeff Ballard seems to think that Jennifer Aniston and Paul Rudd are A-list. No, they're really not. I'm sorry. I know they seem like that, but it's because you're downgrading the B-list. You don't understand. The B-list is big time. B-list is very important. But there's only so much rarefied air to be breathed up there in the A-list. And that's reserved for people like Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman and Brad Pitt and George Clooney and Leonardo DiCaprio. Sorry, Paul Rudd one day will make his way into the A-list. If Paul Rudd keeps acting for another 20 years, then yes, he will certainly be A-list. But he's not now, man. You got to draw the line somewhere. This is like, oh, I like him, so he's A-list. The fucking A-list ain't about what you like. That right there, that was me. That was my rage from earlier today about what my kid did. My kid broke my table, and I'm like, I mean, honestly, Jeff, maybe we certainly can't make a case for Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer Aniston has never been in a critically acclaimed film. She's not even a well-known actress. She's a personality. She was on a sitcom. She's not a great actress. She's not A-list. She doesn't open films. You don't like, oh my God, they cast Jennifer Aniston as Barbie, Margot Robbie, A-list. Absolutely. Absolutely. What else do we have here? We got a preacher here in Texas who's selling bleach tablets to parents because Jesus. this preacher. He's an evangelical preacher. He's a rich kid from New Jersey. His dad was a billionaire, but then he became a drug addict. So his dad kicked him out of the family. So he found a new grift, and now he's living in Texas as an evangelical preacher, pretending that he's born again. And he's got these tablets that he's selling, and they're just bleach. And he's selling them to people, and he's telling moms, if you give your kids these bleach tablets, they won't get autism. So that checks out. That's just happening, and it's being reported today. And I don't know, is anybody doing anything about it? Who knows? Here's the story. Let's get this crazy dude's name. Hold on, guys. All right, never mind. It's taking too long. We're moving on. Next story. Here we go. All right. This is wait, this can't be. There's got to be another page, right? We've got to have at least another page. Yeah, we do. Jerry Jones was on the radio today. Here's Jerry Jones. So Jerry Jones / Coach Prime is trending because, of course, Deion Sanders is going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year. Book it. Come on. Totally. Look, this is where it's going. You think Deion Sanders is going to stay in Colorado and build a program? You don't think he's going to use that as a stepping stone to get to the pros because that's ultimately where Coach Prime wants to be? Yeah. And he probably wants to be the Dallas Cowboys coach. Here's the problem, though. The Dallas Cowboys seem to be rolling, and Mike McCarthy seems to have some job security at the moment. However, if the Cowboys do, well, what the Cowboys are known to do, and they completely shit the bed here in the last couple of, well, not here in the last couple of weeks, but in the last couple of weeks of the season, or if they have their famous December swoon, or if they go out in the first round of the playoffs, or whatever the case is, you better believe, Mike McCarthy is out, and Deion Sanders will be the guy that Jerry Jones hires. Come on. It's a no-brainer. And I laugh at that, and I roll my eyes and all that kind of stuff. But you know what, man? I find Deion Sanders to be an objectionable personality. but also, I cross paths with Deion from time to time back in, the running days here in Dallas, and he's a D-bag. He's a total D-bag. He is. He's just that guy. He's better than you. He's more important with you than you. He'll smile at you and he'll be, oh, nice to meet you. And he'll move. You're a piece of garbage to him. He's Deion. He and Michael. Oh, my God. He and Michael Irvin back in. If you guys have never heard the interview that Richard Hunter did with Deion Sanders and Michael Irvin, where Michael Irvin's ego refused to allow him to quit the argument, it was a debate. It was back on the old ticket. Anyway, Dick Hunter just expose these two idiots for me. Although I will say this, it was Deion who was trying to get Michael Irvin off the air. Like Deion kept going, oh, come on, Mike, let's get out of here, Mike. See, they had been filling in, I think it was Christmas, it was like over the holidays or something, and the ticket gave a one-day show to Michael Irvin and Deion Sanders. And Michael Irvin and Deion Sanders did a radio show one day, like over Christmas. And Richard Hunter was the show that was coming on next. And during crosstalk, Richard questioned Michael on something that he said, and it turned into the greatest. It was just because Richard Hunter is an incredibly smart guy. Like, he's Russell Brand type articulate and quick with his thoughts. And Michael Irvin isn't. A lot of Michael Irvin, his bit, it depends on you knowing he's Michael Irvin and already liking Michael Irvin. So Michael Irvin can just, Michael Irvin, he can do that clowny stuff. And he went up against Richard Hunter, and it was one of the greatest ever. Anyway, Coach Prime, I totally see it. I totally see Jerry Jones getting Deion Sanders. He ain't going to stay in Buffalo. He stayed at Jackson State 1 year. They made a whole documentary series about how proud he was to be in a historically black university and how this is, the proving ground. Made a whole TV series about it, and then he left. He left like after 1 year. But here's the fact about Deion Sanders, and it cannot be denied. It seems to me that at all the levels that Deion said, we've only got 2 examples, and again, we're early in this college football season, but he does seem to create winners. He does seem to be able to motivate talented individuals to give their absolute best. And at the end of the day, isn't that what the Dallas Cowboys have been missing? I mean, don't you think? Look, I have a bit of experience with this kind of thing. I am a Chicago White Sox baseball fan, and we Chicago White Sox fans, we know that there has only ever been one manager in our lifetime who has been able to get people fired up and out there to win, and that is Ozzie Guillen. Unfortunately, Ozzie Guillen's a troublemaker, and he can't get a job. But that's another guy like Deion Sanders. I don't know what it is about Ozzie Guillen, but he gets in the clubhouse with a baseball team, and they get fired up. Like, they get crazy. Deion Sanders seems to have this ability to do that. Did you see that game on Saturday night? My God. Colorado State. My son and I watched it. Holy shit. I mean, even if you're anti-Deion Sanders, at some point in that game, you had to have been going, this is entertaining as hell. So anyway, Jerry Jones was on the radio today, and he's talking about Coach Prime, and he said, here, what did he say? I'll get you exactly what. Cowboys Jerry Jones drops blunt take on Colorado football's Deion Sanders, potentially coaching in the NFL. What's it say here? Almost every team that Deion Sanders touches turns competitive. That's what I was just saying. Jerry Jones outlined how Colorado's football game was thrilling because of Deion Sanders' play calls, although the Cowboys owner's thoughts on a comeback to the NFL were also realistic. Jones says about Deion Sanders and his potential of coaching in the NFL, he influences people. And of course, that's part of it in the NFL. But I don't want to go there because you know where that starts going every which way. Right. So we don't want to go into that because he's got a 2-0 team and Mike McCarthy, who had been on the hot seat for a lot of time. And if they shit the bed again, people are going to want McCarthy's head. So Jerry Jones isn't going to say anything further other than the fact that he believes that he influences people and that he's won everywhere he's been. That, I'm telling you, Deion Sanders is the sort of Damocles that is dangling over the head of Coach Mike McCarthy of the Dallas Cowboys all season long. You watch. You watch. What? That's not a reasonable. Jerry Jones is the most unreasonable coach. Of course he would. The Arizona Cardinals made Kyle Kingsbury their head coach. Now it failed miserably. Deion Sanders ain't Kyle Kingsbury. And again, I don't even like Deion Sanders, the man, but I'm wildly entertained by Deion Sanders, the football coach. Let's see here. There was a new parents survey that was taken, and I just want to mention one thing about this. The United States of America, parents we parents here in the United States of America, it's things we value in our children. Like, what are the most important things? The attributes, the character traits, the things that our children can bring forth unto this world. What are the things that matter the most to us as parents here living in America? And guess what? It ain't good manners. It ain't good manners. Americans are like, okay, having a well-behaved kids is often a concern for parents, but not all adults in every country actually think it's one of the most important things. Overall, adults in the United States are least likely to say that kids having good manners is an especially important quality. So apparently American parents don't think well-mannered kids is all that important. And I have to tell you, as someone who's been out in the wild, I agree. I don't think American parents think well-behaved kids are important either. Now, this is so strange for me because every kid I'm around is really well-behaved. And I'm around a lot of kids. Like the kids that I'm around that are like tied to my universe. Like, for instance, my son's friend, Josh. I've met this kid like 3 times. He's like my kid's like best friend. I've met him like 3 times. The second time I met him, I was walking around a parking lot after a football game, and this kid comes running up to me and he says, "Are you looking for Mason?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I looked at him and I'm like, "Oh yeah, hey Josh, how are you?" And my point is this: he then went on every bus looking for my kid. It's just like, he was just such a nice gesture. I'm like, and I even told my son, I go, "Dude, that Josh kid, he's a good dude." He's like, "No, he's really nice. He's a nice person." I'm like, "Yeah, he really is. That's good." Emil's son Dominic. I mean, he's a jagbag to me, but he's an incredibly well-behaved child. That child is being raised very well. He has manners. I mean, he's a jagbag to me because I'm Uncle Pugs, and he can be. But my son's friends. But when I go out in public, like you go out to eat or something, not necessarily a nice restaurant, but just at a regular restaurant, you go out to eat and you see the way parents just let their kids run around. Overall, adults in the United States are least likely to say that their kids have good manners. Just 52% of Americans said that manners were especially important with their children. Only 52% of parents think a well-behaved and mannered child is important in America. Now, well, that's got to be everywhere. 86% in the United Kingdom. 86% of parents in the United Kingdom believe that well-mannered children are an important thing. And that makes sense, right? Because in America, it's like, fuck you, man. And then in England, it's like, I do beg your pardon, sir. It is very sort of different culturally. This is a big change, however, and this is the problem. This is where we raise the red flag, because back in 1990, when this question was asked, 76% of U.S. adults said that a well-mannered child was important to them. 76% in 1990. We're down to 52%. What's going on? Why isn't it 100%? Why isn't that answer? Like, you know what I mean? If you were asked by somebody, if they said, is your child having good manners important to you? Who would say no? Who would? Nah, not at all. Nah. What? All right. Hey, it's National Cheeseburger Day. What do you guys have? You guys having cheeseburgers? Go out and get cheeseburgers. It's National Cheeseburger Day. Here's what I can tell you. There's a whole bunch of places got cheeseburger specials. If you got the McDonald's app, I think they got 50-cent double cheeseburgers today. I might get 10. $5. No. 10, 50, whatever. Just okay. It's been a long day. Here are some of the places where you can get cheeseburger. When is National Cheeseburger Day? National Cheeseburger Day is September 18th, but some fast food chains are celebrating with deals sprinkled over the next few days. Applebee's. Here's what you get at Applebee's. Going to an Applebee's today, they'll offer their classic cheeseburger, classic burger, and classic bacon cheeseburger with fries for just $8.99. I ain't going to Applebee's for $8.99. I'm looking for like free cheeseburgers. I'm not looking for $8.99 Applebee cheeseburger. Let me see here. Burger King. Burger King customers who have Royal Perks accounts, that means get the app, can have Royal Perks accounts, can get a free cheeseburger if they make a purchase of $1 or more this year. Oh, okay. So if you've got the app and you've ordered before and you've ordered at least $1, you get a free cheeseburger. The deal is good for all locations across the United States. Double cheeseburgers at McDonald's cost what? McDonald's is celebrating National Cheeseburger Day with double cheeseburgers for only 50 cents when customers order exclusively through the McDonald's app. Crystals, Crystal burgers. Crystal fans can grab a $1 cheese Crystal via the Crystal app. $1? One Crystal hamburger is $1? That's the deal? They should be 25 cents. Half off a double cheeseburger at Carl's Jr. I don't think we have Carl's Jr. here, do we? And just go to McDonald's. Just get the 50-cent double cheeseburger. Let me tell you something about the 50-cent double cheeseburger at McDonald's. If you have not had a McDonald's double cheese, just a simple double cheeseburger. It's just meat and cheese and bun. If you have not pickle in that weird McDonald's ketchup mustard combination that is inexplicably delicious. It's really good. I can't find McDonald's flavored ketchup anywhere else. What do you mean McDonald's flavored ketchup? I mean, I don't know. It's good. McDonald's ketchup is good. It's better than other ketchup. McDonald's Coca-Cola is good. It's better than other Coca-Colas. I can't explain it. McDonald's French fries. We know about that. But the McDonald's double cheeseburger, man. And it's the McDonald's double cheeseburger, not the McDouble. They have a McDonald's double cheeseburger and a McDouble. And one is like 20 cents more. And I think it's because it's a piece of cheese, an extra piece of cheese on one of them. But don't worry about that. Just get the McDonald's double cheeseburger for 50 cents today. And just eat them just get like 4 of them. Seriously, you get 4 of them. That's $2. You're going to be stuffed. They're so good. McDonald's double cheeseburgers, man. Those things are bangers. Those guys are good. I'm not saying you'll live on them every day, but every 6 months or so, you're like, boom, you pop one of them down. You're like, God damn, the McDonald's classic double cheeseburger is really good. It gets lost in the shuffle of all the fancy burgers and all the other things, the chicken barbecue combo supreme or whatever. No, but just the basic double cheeseburger. So good at McDonald's. Happy double cheeseburger day or cheeseburger day. All right, whatever. Hey, guys, that's it. That's all the shows that I've got for you. We're out. We're done. We got more coming tomorrow at noon, as we do this every Monday through Friday at high noon. No Radio Misfits show tonight. Radio Misfits is the show that we do on, usually at night at 9 o'clock. No Radio Misfits show tonight. No Radio Misfits show tomorrow night. Why? Well, because I'm hoping that a lot of you folks who would be listening to the Radio Misfits show. I have got my We'll be coming out to our improv. That's right. Tomorrow, James Parker and myself, the guy I do Radio Misfits with, we're doing a comedy night. We went through a comedy training class. We've been taught how to put together a comedy set, and we're going to get up and we're going to do our stand-up comedy. It's me and James, a couple other people from our class, a bunch of real comedians though as well. We've got Dean Lewis is going to be headlining. He's great. So it's free. It's free. If you want to come out and you want to check us out and you want to hang out a little bit, the scroll at the bottom of the screen has all the information that you need. You need to send me your name. You need me to send me the names of the people you're going with. You can do it at Twitter. You can do it at Facebook. You can DM me however you want to do it. You can send it via email. The email is right there on that scroll at the bottom. Tomorrow night, 7:30 at the Improv. Got a lot to do today. No, Al, you're awesome. Adam Morena says they put more sugar in their fries. What are you talking about, McDonald's? No sugar in fries. What do you mean they put more? He's kidding. He's kidding because that's got to be it. I don't know what they do. They do something different with their Coca-Cola though, because Coca-Cola out of the fountain at McDonald's is the greatest tasting Coca-Cola you'll ever have, and I don't know what that is. I don't know why that is. Maybe McDonald's. Here's what I think. So I think that McDonald's has a deal with, because you can't screw with Coca-Cola. I don't know if you know this, but like if you go to a racetrack or something, you go to the fountain, you get a Coca-Cola, that Coca-Cola is actually monitored by Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola bottling people that come by, they make sure it's the absolute right. You can cheat the Coca-Cola by like less syrup, by adjusting the amount of syrup. And that's why sometimes you go into like sketchy gas stations, you get a soda or something, and you're like, this doesn't taste right. It's because they're buying less syrup. They're making the syrup go longer. McDonald's has very stringent regulations, or not McDonald's, but Coca-Cola, very stringent regulations on how much syrup is to be used on anything at any fountain that is emblazoned by the Coca-Cola badge. But McDonald's is different. I think McDonald's got an exception because McDonald's probably moves so much Coca-Cola. They were like, hey, we want to add a little more syrup. I think the syrup I think that's what it is. I think the Coca-Cola at McDonald's has a little more Coca-Cola syrup, and that's why it's a little more flavorful. Anyway, I don't know. It's one of the great mysteries of my life. I've always never understood how a McDonald's Coca-Cola can taste so much better than Coca-Cola everywhere else. But it does. All right, I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow at noon for more High Noon. And that's got to be it. Bye, everybody.
The best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending